Hello and welcome. Skinwalker Ranch, also known as Sherman Ranch, is a property located on approximately 512 acres southeast of Ballard, Utah, that is allegedly the site of paranormal and UFO-related activities. Its name is taken from the Skinwalker of Navajo legend concerning malevolent witches. Claims about the ranch first appeared in the Salt Lake City, Utah Deseret News, and later in the alternative weekly Las Vegas Mercury, as a series of articles by journalist George Knapp. These early stories detailed the claims that a family that had recently purchased and occupied the property only to experience an array of inexplicable and frightening events.
The Skinwalker Ranch is a section of land approximately 480 square acres in size, just southeast of Ballard, Utah. Over the years, countless stories of paranormal activity, encounters with strange animals, UFOs, and even animal mutations have been reported from within the ranch. Some of these experiences ranked as some of the most compelling paranormal events ever recorded. The Utes, an old Native American tribe, fought to expel the Navajo from the Skinwalker Basin shortly before the arrival of white settlers. The Navajo would retreat from the basin, but not before cursing the ranch with the presence of a shape-shifting demon. The Myers family settled in the ranch in 1905, making a small homestead on the property. Although they didn't ever publicly report strange creatures or occurrences, they would abruptly abandon their newly built property some short years later, opting to quietly and quickly move far away. When the Sherman family moved to the ranch in 1994 to breed cattle, they were startled by the impressive array of bolts that covered the doors and windows of the main house. Recalling a 2002 quote, "There were deadbolts on both sides of the doors. Even the kitchen cabinets had bolts on them. And at both ends of the house, iron stakes and heavy chains had been installed. We guessed the previous tenants had positioned large guard dogs in the front and back of the home, but at the time we had no idea why. It wouldn't be long before they would understand." Within a few days of moving in, their livestock started being visited by vicious, strange creatures, apparently immune to harm. The Shermans would get a good look at one of these beasts, reporting that it appeared to be a large wolf. When shot with a rifle, the bullets had no effect. Only when blasted several times with a large shotgun would the creature desist from sadistic attack upon their cattle. Other reports from the Shermans' time on the ranch included shafts of light rising like pillars from the ground, fields mysteriously lighting up like stadiums. Massive, semi-visible, shapeless entities also terrorized the family, and multiple people often simultaneously heard a deep, incomprehensible, disembodied voice speaking to them, seemingly from above. Strange disturbances in their home left the family with no safe place, eventually opting to all sleep huddled together on the floor of one room. The final straw was when Terry Sherman sent his 3 dogs to chase glowing blue orbs into the woods, all subsequently being killed by the spheres. Cattle mutilations have also been a large part of the folklore of the surrounding area for decades. They became so frequent, in fact, the National Institute for Discovery Sciences founder, Robert Bigelow, purchased the land in 1996. His purchase was with the intentions to undertake extensive investigations within the ranch, an investigation mysteriously funded, which to this day has been a literal media blackout, even closing down a public road running through the vicinity. A move objected by the locals. You have to wonder what they found. Since the moment of the purchase, no subsequent activities within the ranch have been reported or even admitted to. The National Institute for Discovery Sciences maintaining a complete denial of any new events upon the ranch to this day. Not only has a multi-million-dollar operation been undertaken within the ranch, but whatever they found, it seems they decided would be better withheld from the general public.
More recently, a new documentary feature examining inexplicable phenomena at the remote ranch will weaponize your curiosity and invigorate the debate about UFOs and the paranormal, so says its director, Jeremy Corbell. The documentary, Hunt for the Skinwalker, is based on the best-selling book by investigative reporter George Knapp and Dr. Colm Kelleher. Jeremy Corbell, a former jiu-jitsu sensei turned documentarian, expects his film to provoke serious scientific discussion when it drops on iTunes on the 11th of September this year. "It's a huge injection of information to the public on this topic," says the filmmaker. "It's inescapable and certainly it will be impactful." Corbell's film revisits and significantly expands upon the material presented in its 2005 source material, which examined a myriad of terrifying, seemingly supernatural events reported over hundreds of years. Skinwalker Ranch, a property long plagued by otherworldly intrusions, from poltergeist activity and animal mutilations, to sightings of UFOs and unknown creatures and entities. After the owners of the ranch fled in terror in the 1990s, an exhaustive, multidisciplinary scientific study began, spearheaded by the enigmatic Las Vegas billionaire, Robert Bigelow. A team of PhD-level investigators was deployed to collect evidence. Eventually, they would spend more than a decade on the ground, interviewing witnesses, searching for explanations, and directly confronting what seemed to be an unknown intelligence. Today, the ranch remains shrouded in mystery and secrecy. Certain government and corporate interests have preferred to keep the ranch off limits to the general public, as their scientific investigations continue. But this hasn't stopped Corbell from gaining access. After years of distant fascination with what George Knapp tantalizingly describes as the paranormal Disneyland, the filmmaker was compelled to visit the ranch for himself. Here is the trailer. Hunt for the Skinwalker.
The global public is not ready to have global confirmation of this. A lot of disturbing things will occur. It's just too powerful.
Skinwalker Ranch. This is like the Area 51 of the paranormal.
It was not a single phenomenon. There were a host of things that happened.
Have there been experiences there that have shaken the Pentagon and CIA and other agencies? Absolutely.
Nobody knows what we're dealing with. That's the bottom line. Nobody knows.
This is 30 or 40 hours of material that the public has never seen before.
They saw this humanoid creature crawling through this tunnel, hovering 4 feet above the ground. Something forced 4 2,000-pound bulls to cram themselves into this trailer without opening this door. It's completely impossible.
I've seen things that I can't explain.
This was one of the most surprising things that we recorded right after I purchased the ranch.
Is it real?
Oh yes, I believe it is.
Something is here.
These are real, tangible, physical events. This is game-changing.
It's one thing to be reading about UFOs or other realities or interdimensionals. It's another thing to be staring at it right in the face.
Oh God.
My name's Heseltine and I'm the founder and editor of UFO Truth E-Zine, a magazine dedicated to people who believe that some UFO sightings do represent ET engaging with planet Earth. It's 96 pages and it's sent to you every 2 months direct to your email address. You don't have to do a thing. If you're really interested in the subject of UFOs, then subscribe to UFO Truth magazine now. It features articles by many of the world's leading researchers, either as guest contributors or regular columnists.
I am pleased to announce an exclusive offer from UFO Truth magazine to all Max UFO News viewers. The Max UFO News special offer offers a year's subscription to UFO Truth magazine for just £11.99. You can find the link to obtain your special offer in the YouTube description box below. Be sure to check it out after the show.
Roswell for the annual UFO Festival. We already gave you a sneak peek of the ranch where the alleged 1947 crash happened, but the festival has much more to offer. Casey Torres joins us from Alien Town with more.
Kasha, an organizer for the UFO Festival, says last year about 38,000 people came from across the world because of this, aliens. And like every year, they have new activities to keep them coming. Everywhere you turn.
There are murals all over town. There are alien statues all over town. There are paintings on the windows of aliens and UFOs all over town. We just embrace it.
Roswell, a city known for green creatures who some believe visited 71 years ago, is a tourist hotspot every day. But from July 6th to the 8th, these streets will have thousands of aliens or humans walking around.
You have people all over the city. There will be some out at the mall at Galacticon. Some will be at the UFO Museum doing the seminars, the workshops. You'll have some that will be going to the plays that are going on. Some will be over at the planetarium. Some will be here at this festival. They're all over.
Behind these doors at the Tuscosa office machines, a scientific experiment will start on Saturday at noon every 30 minutes. But maybe not everyone has the stomach for it.
And they're going to be doing alien autopsies with a camera and a big screen TV and getting kids to come help. So it's going to be very crazy.
Don't freak out. They're mock alien bodies. Leigh says the point is for kids to learn through science, and like most activities, it's free. People will also be able to take a selfie behind an authentic NASA spacesuit that's cut in half. We'll have a list of all the activities and entertainment on our website, KLB.com, under 4 links. In Alien Town, Casey Torres, KLB Eyewitness News 4.
The turnout is expected to be huge. For the first time in 71 years, the legendary UFO crash site will be open to the public, drawing a whole new batch of visitors. Our Casey Torres is live in Roswell with what city officials and organizers are expecting. Casey.
Steve, organizers are expecting a big crowd, but not the biggest one they've ever seen. They say anniversary years like the 50th, 60th, or 70th bring in the biggest crowds, but this year, it's the 71st. The 70th anniversary of the UFO Festival attracted thousands of visitors, almost enough to match Roswell's population.
Last year we had a little over 38,000 visitors that came over a 4-day span, which is a huge significant impact on our economy over that 4-day period.
Public Affairs Director for the City of Roswell, Juanita Jennings, says last year's festival brought in $12.7 million to the local economy. Jennings says even though the 1947 UFO crash site tours is a big deal this year, they're still only expecting about 16,000 people to show up, bringing in less money.
$5.3 million in about a 3-day period is what we're projecting for this year's festival, which again is huge economic impact to our community members.
Not enough to compete with anniversary festivals, but 16,000 people still bring in a lot of business.
The bookings usually start anywhere from up to a year in advance. The month before, of course, we start booking very, very quickly. We are already booked completely for the weekend.
The La Quinta Inn is already 25% booked for next year's festival. Roswell hotels are expected to bring in about $600,000 this year. The city helps fund the festival with $75,000 that comes from the lodger's tax. But they say that visitors are actually helping fund the festival each year. Live in Roswell, Casey Torres, KLB Eyewitness News 4.
The Roswell incident. In just a few weeks, the ranch where so many people believe a UFO crashed in 1947 will be open to the public for the first time. Today, News 13's Elena Mendoza traveled there to learn more about the story behind it. Elena.
Kim, the tours will only be given for a few days. Today I got a sneak peek of what tourgoers will learn and see. Back in 1947, a man named Mac Brazel owned and lived on this southeast New Mexico ranch.
He was the ranch hand that found the flying saucer or the weather balloon, whichever you believe.
His house and work shed still standing today.
A lot of the pins that you see were back whenever Mac Brazel worked here, so a lot of this is very original. That hasn't changed, and we've even used it still to this day.
Lauren Bogle says Brazel was working the fields when he saw what he believed was a UFO.
He saw something go through the sky and crash a couple miles down that way, and went and researched it and called the Roswell Sheriff's Department, and the Roswell Sheriff's Department called the base. The government did a sweep. They took him back to the base, and then he came back with with the new Ford truck to never speak of it again.
The Bogle sisters' great-grandfather bought the ranch when the Brazel family sold it in 1952.
Nothing to do with the crash at all, just for agriculture and to do a cow-calf operation. We kept Mac Brazel, but I think there was a little bit of some falling out, and it had to kind of do with the crash itself.
Contrary to popular belief, the site sits pretty far from Roswell, in a town called Corona, about 75 miles northwest of what has become known as the Alien City.
Corona is a really tiny town. Roswell got heavily involved, and they're the ones that stored all the materials and went through everything.
Tour goers will be shuttled out from the Roswell Mall and will get to experience how the events played out.
The second you step foot on this ranch, we want you to feel like it's 1947 all over again, and we want you to experience it first person.
The Bogle sisters say they'd like to make it an annual event. They say they're working with the UFO Festival to holding those tours early in the morning and late at night so people can still enjoy those festivities. Kim, back to you.
Okay, thanks, Elena. Now, tickets range from $65 to $250 for the VIP experience, whatever that is. Bureau of Land Management is taking an interest in a New Mexico geologist's discoveries that he claims is out of this world. He believes he's found parts of the alleged UFO crash near Roswell in 1947. News 13's Elena Mendoza is live in Roswell with the story. Elena.
Kim, Frank Kimbler says it was the most nerve-wracking 4 days of his life as he waited to meet with the Bureau of Land Management, fearing the whole time his findings would be taken away.
Some of it could be trash, camper trash, things like that, but some of it could be interesting.
Geologist Frank Kimbler distinctly remembers the moment he discovered debris from the suspected 1947 UFO crash site.
And I started looking around all over the place, looking to see if the helicopters were going to fly over, and because you get paranoid when you read the stories about Roswell and what's happened to people that have come forward with stuff.
Over the past 8 years, Kimbler has dedicated himself to finding physical proof of the UFO. He's been out to the suspected site about a dozen times. Using a metal detector, he's collected about 20 metallic fragments the size of a fingernail.
Some of the material that I found out there has been tested, and it has anomalies that suggest that it might be of extraterrestrial origin.
Just recently, Kimbler became afraid his research was in jeopardy when the Bureau of Land Management, or BLM, contacted him wanting to meet with him. Kimbler says he was positive he was just a test away from discovering the truth. When the BLM called, he became a little paranoid and even removed his findings from the International UFO Museum in Roswell.
I said, sure, about had a heart attack. She couldn't see my reaction. I'm going, oh, they're going to arrest me. They're going to confiscate this material. And I always thought that I was within my legal rights as a citizen of the United States to go out and metal detect.
Much to his relief, that wasn't the case.
It had a happy ending. I got clarification on the rules and regulations from the BLM, and there was no confiscation of materials.
Kimbler thinks that the BLM got alerted to his presence because of the recent commercial interest in the site. Kim, back to you.
Okay, thanks, Elena. Now, Kimbler is a researcher with the International UFO Museum. He's been featured on several documentaries. He says he will continue to try to find suspected debris, but will work with the BLM to do it legally.
Scene 5.
We are making the first feature film about the Kecksburg UFO. This is the only major UFO incident that has not been made into a feature film, and we're hoping by doing so to actually draw tourism here. Roswell's in the middle of a desert and gets $95 million. Kecksburg's the second most known UFO incident in the United States and receives almost nothing.
His head in, okay? So you guys are all just, it's really hopeful.
So this is what they have, but you see when you look at the book, there's people from Wisconsin, Virginia, Indiana. They drive all the way out here, and yet we have almost nothing. I mean, this is the only field, but they're getting ready to defend. And we're trying to get people to help, and this is all part of this. And you know, it sounds altruistic, but it makes a difference. I don't live here in this area anymore, but it'd be so much more. 1965, we had an object land here in Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, and a lot of people have theorized what it might be. The military took it out of here, and a lot of locals saw it. Actually, the most seen UFO incident by numbers of people.
The object was seen by many people throughout the state, but on that date, I was living in Oakland Avenue in Greensburg. That time I seen a streak in the sky, and I come out. At that point, I wasn't a fireman, but I come out to the scene and seen the military with the object.
From E.T. to Area 51, the idea of aliens has long dominated the human imagination. NASA's missions to hunt for exoplanets have also ignited interest in finding evidence of life beyond Earth. But could these aliens be looking for us too?
The United States of America.
According to a new study, space travel might be more difficult for them than it is for us. And it's all thanks to the laws of physics. As astronomers look deep into space for signs of life, one class of exoplanets that's been discovered is known as super-Earths. Researchers suggest that these super-Earths could be super-habitable. This is because their greater mass gives them stronger gravitational pull, allowing them to hold thicker atmospheres that shield life from harmful cosmic rays. But that intense gravitational pull could be a problem when it comes to launching rockets out of the atmosphere. This is unfortunate because it rules out ways in which us humans have been able to take on space travel. Some scientists feel that these super-Earth dwellers could use nuclear propulsion instead to launch rockets, even though this is more dangerous. There's also the possibility that intelligent life on these planets is advanced enough to crush such tiny obstacles. These are just some of the theories being floated around about how aliens could overcome this problem of physics. And maybe they already have.
The octopus certainly does look strange, with bugged-out eyes, suction cup tentacles, and the ability to change color for camouflage. But a new paper in a peer-reviewed scientific journal posits that octopi aren't just strange, they're aliens. Literally. That's according to 33 authors writing in the journal Progress in Biophysics and Molecular Biology. In the paper, the authors note it's widely accepted that octopi, plus related animals like the squid and cuttlefish, evolved from the Nautilus 541 million years ago. But the authors argue that the octopus is oddly quite different from their nautiloid ancestors. Their large brains, sophisticated nervous systems, flexible bodies, and camouflage ability seem to have, quote, appeared suddenly on the evolutionary scene. That is, the transformative genes from the Nautilus to the octopus can't be easily found in any pre-existing life form, the authors say. So where did they come from? In answering that question, the authors take an out-of-this-world leap. They write, quote, it is plausible then to suggest octopi seem to be borrowed from a far distant future in terms of terrestrial evolution, or more realistically, from the cosmos at large. This is, obviously, a lot. And the journal's editors know it. Still, while the paper appears to be deliberately provocative, it's garnering interest in a larger hypothesis, panspermia, a Greek word meaning seeds everywhere. The idea that life could come not only from Earth, but from all over the galaxy.
The New York Times reported recently that the Pentagon has finally acknowledged the existence of a special program that investigated reports of UFOs. The Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, which began as part of the Defense Intelligence Agency in 2007, apparently ended in 2012. The Defense Department spent about $22 million on the program, which was the brainchild of former Senate Majority Leader Reid of Nevada. Officials with the program studied various unexplained sightings. One of the associated videos released shows an encounter between an unknown object and two Navy F-18 fighter jets off the coast of San Diego as they tried to chase it. The egg-shaped object in the video appeared to defy the laws of physics with its unusual maneuvers. Many experts believe that just because the origin of these objects can't be explained, it doesn't necessarily mean they come from outer space. In fact, some possible theories even suggest links to foreign powers that might have developed next-generation technologies that could pose a threat to the United States. And for these reasons, supporters of the program believe that it was important to investigate such incidents. The Pentagon's recent acknowledgement of the existence of this secretive program certainly provides evidence that the government has been watching the skies for unidentified aerial phenomena, and might have just given fuel to conspiracy.
Psychics will gather in Las Vegas this week for a special conference created to explore seemingly taboo topics, including UFOs, remote viewing, and spiritual mediums. Scientists who put their careers and credibility on the line by studying so-called fringe topics are pretty anxious to share their latest research, not only with colleagues, but with the public. The I-Team's George Knapp has a preview.
U.S. Navy pilots and a so-called tic-tac UFO off the coast of California has emerged as one of the best documented encounters of all time. Since the video went public late last year, the Pentagon has reluctantly acknowledged there was an official program to study UFOs. As the I-Team first reported, one of the Pentagon programs was carried out here by BASS, a subcontractor within Bigelow Aerospace, financed by the DIA, and the chief scientist for BASS was physicist Dr. Hal Puthoff.
Hal was working with the DIA study through BASS, and as well as the chief scientific officer for the two stars as a civilian effort in the field.
So, yeah,
I should mention he was also participated in the study that I ran 30 years ago.
Las Vegan John Alexander, a former military intelligence colonel, has likewise been pursuing the UFO mystery for decades. It's no accident he invited Dr. Puthoff to speak here, given the recent explosion of media interest in the Pentagon's UFO study. On Friday, Puthoff will tell what he knows about that study. It's one of the highlights from the joint conference of I.R.V.A, the International Remote Viewing Association, and SSE, the Society for Scientific Exploration. Both groups include professionals who believe the study of unconventional subjects is a worthy pursuit.
That is the key point, is that these people are highly credible, highly skilled, many professors, lots of PhDs and MDs that are involved, and they do want to look at, or are certainly willing to look at, this wide range of society. They're not all proponents. I mean that. I mean, some of them are true skeptics. But, you know, they are willing to look at the data.
The conference is not a gathering of true believers. For example, one SSE member, Dr. Gary Nolan of Stanford, recently demolished claims by pitchmen that this skeleton found in Chile is a mummified extraterrestrial. It's a deformed human, Nolan proved. Remote viewing is a protocol developed for the CIA and tested by the U.S. Army. It was the basis for the George Clooney movie, The Men Who Stare at Goats. The technique allows people to project human consciousness across time and space, and it works. On Wednesday, attendees will be able to learn how to remote view for themselves, as taught by the government's own psychic spies. Dr. Puthoff helped create the CIA's remote viewing program, but for this event, we'll focus on the Pentagon's UFO studies.
So when people say, isn't it interesting the Pentagon is doing this, my question is, why aren't we seeing more?
George Knapp, 8 News Now.
So the public is invited to attend the conference, which, by the way, does start Wednesday morning. We have a link on our website with more information about the speakers, the topics, how to register, and chances are pretty good that the I-Team will be there as well.
Scientists and researchers who study exotic, even paranormal topics are in Las Vegas this week to share their findings about psychic phenomena, UFOs, similar controversial topics. Today, down at the South Point, some of the people who worked as psychic spies for the U.S. government shared their knowledge about a technique known as remote viewing, which was developed for the CIA. The event is a joint conference of two science organizations, but is open to the public. Tomorrow, two men who have spent years involved with Pentagon programs will tell what they know about secret studies into UFOs. Psychist Dr. Hal Puthoff was the chief scientist for a UFO project based right here in Las Vegas, and his longtime colleague, Dr. John Alexander, also speaks tomorrow. He says he understands why the public is suspicious whenever UFO secrets come spilling out into the open.
They always suspected you guys, N.I.D.S, of being the men in black, the secret government to begin with. Suspicions confirmed.
Well, the problem there, in my view, is that most people have no idea how the government really works. And they say, what does the government know? I'm going to talk about this. Remember, we have three big branches of the government. These are huge agencies. And because information goes in at one point does not mean that it gets disseminated. And in these areas, quite to the contrary, it is held in very tight circles.
Tomorrow, at least some of the information that's been kept hidden will be made public, including new details about the now famous UFO videos that were released from the Pentagon a few months ago. We do have links on our website if you want more information about the conference at LasVegasNow.com.
Here are the facts. After World War II, the United States was plagued with reports of unidentified flying objects, or UFOs. In 1951, more Americans reported UFO sightings than at any point in American history. The public demanded an explanation. Oddly enough, the Air Force obliged. The first investigations began in 1946, and by 1947, Project Sign was born. In 1948, this study reached inconclusive results, but stated that UFOs were real and most likely not made on Earth. The project was dismantled and the Air Force created Project Grudge, which was specifically designed to disprove the conclusions of Project Sign. Project Grudge attributed most UFO sightings to misinterpretation, hysteria, or other mundane causes. However, it still could not explain 23% of the sightings. Within a year, Project Grudge folded and was replaced by Project Blue Book. Project Blue Book ran from 1948 through the 60s, and its results are still a subject of intense debate. Were the official results correct? Were most of these UFO sightings easily explained as mass hysteria, freak weather phenomenon, or mistaken observers? Or was it, as some conspiracy theorists believe, a smokescreen? Here's where it gets crazy. Signs do point to a cover-up of some sort. At the beginning of the U.S. investigation, there was no question that UFO sightings were legitimate. Lieutenant General Nathan F. Twining believed that the phenomenon reported is something real and not visionary or fictitious. Former scientific consultant and astronomer Joseph A. Hynek also states that factions within the government actively discredited studies that concluded UFOs were something out of the ordinary. So we do know that some sightings were ignored or kept secret. And then there's the legendary Estimate of the Situation, a document that built the case for UFOs as alien craft using some of these classified sightings as evidence. Although several people associated with Project Sign have stated that this document does exist, no copies have been found. The Air Force Chief of Staff at the time, General Hoyt S. Vandenberg, ordered it destroyed. When ufologists Tim Cornelia and Edgar Smith asked Captain George T. Gregory about some of these sensitive UFO reports, such as the Kinross incident, the captain refused to speak about them. Additionally, the scientists and officers working on these projects were not allowed to address certain UFO cases. These special cases were handled by another, more secretive group in the Air Force. This group's name is not public knowledge, and its existence has only been hinted at in memos retrieved through the Freedom of Information Act. Despite this secrecy, the sightings were too widespread to be ignored. Perhaps the most compelling evidence of a conspiracy came in 1951, when hundreds of witnesses saw heavy UFO activity over Washington, D.C. The public uproar jammed all communication channels, and it effectively crippled the capital's security and intelligence operations. This made Washington incredibly vulnerable to conventional attacks. After intense public outcry over the UFOs, the Air Force hosted the largest press conference in U.S. history, but it did not confirm any reporters' questions. They referred to the objects simply as unknowns. Yet the government was not necessarily concerned with aliens. The main concern of the government was always to determine if UFOs were a threat to national security. After the communication system crashed, the CIA and the Air Force decided that public panic over UFOs caused more harm than any UFOs themselves. Therefore, the best way to increase security would be to calm the public. In 1968, the Air Force hired physicist Edward Condon to conduct a review of Project Blue Book's findings, with the understanding that all of these findings would be debunked. Despite Condon's reports debunking UFO sightings, the rumors have not died. As more and more researchers comb the archives for evidence, more smoking guns appear. There may not have been any alien spacecraft zipping around the globe after World War II, but the facts are clear. There is something they don't want you to know.
That studied UFO encounters ended back in 2012, but the senator who sponsored it thinks it should be revived.
Former Nevada Senator Harry Reid admitted his involvement with the UFO project last year. Now the A.A.T.I.P team has found a document from 2009 in which Reid made the case for protecting and expanding the project.
The I-Team's George Knapp has our story.
The U.S. Navy pilots who encountered tic-tac-shaped objects off the coast of California in 2004 were flummoxed by the astounding technology of the unknown intruders. So were the pilots who encountered the so-called gimbal UFO in 2015 off the coast of Florida, as were pilots and sailors in dozens of similar incidents. These kinds of cases inspired Senator Harry Reid in 2007 to initiate a secret military study of UFO encounters. Reid publicly acknowledged the study last December.
George, I think these studies are so loaded with information. The reason I say that is that we learned a lot.
Reacting to news stories about the now canceled study called A.A.T.I.P, Pentagon spokesperson said the study didn't learn much. But that's not how Reid described the program in this 2009 letter to the Deputy Secretary of Defense. The letter is not classified, but a footnote says it is exempt from disclosure under FOIA. Only 14 people were copied, all of them with security clearances. In the letter, Reid said the DIA study to that point had focused on, quote, advanced aerospace threats and disruptive aerospace technologies, that the A.A.T.I.P study was already a success, and that exotic technologies could be catastrophic if ever used by our adversaries. Lou Elizondo, who was in charge of A.A.T.I.P until he left the Pentagon last year, was surprised we had a copy of the letter, but acknowledged it is legit.
Yes, I have read that letter. I think that letter portrays a very compelling picture to the Department of Defense that the preliminary results of the A.A.T.I.P program were warranting an increase in the protection of that information.
Although Elizondo was instrumental in getting the release of 3 Pentagon UFO videos, the files and reports generated by the A.A.T.I.P study have not been made public, and he's not authorized to spill the secrets. Elizondo now works with To the Stars Academy in California. One of his colleagues, physicist and longtime CIA consultant Dr. Hal Puthoff, recently told a science group in Las Vegas the existence of the formal study allowed reluctant witnesses to step forward.
And a number of significant Department of Defense and intelligence community officials have come forward to talk about the reality of this phenomenon and the fact that there were programs going on.
Elizondo declines to name names, but says there's no question A.A.T.I.P produced valuable intelligence.
Absolutely was successful. It was absolutely successful. That is undeniable, to the point where that point was raised to senior levels of the Department of Defense.
So why would Pentagon spokespersons claim the study produced little?
The right hand doesn't always know what the left hand's doing. They try. I don't think it's deliberate or on purpose. I don't think it's a misinformation campaign.
Senator Reid told us he hopes some of his former colleagues in Congress are paying attention and that they'll authorize a resumption or expansion of the study. George Knapp, 8 News Now.
Senator Reid, who is recovering from cancer surgery, wrote the letter for the purpose of asking that the UFO study be protected as a special access program. Now, we do have additional resources on our website, including links to a new interview with the Navy pilot who encountered the Tic Tac UFO.
Well, my friends, I'm afraid that is it for June. Don't forget, you can stay informed between episodes by visiting maxufonews.blogspot.com. Max UFO News is a non-profit webcast and blog. If you have enjoyed this month's episode, please leave a like, subscribe should you so wish, and click the little bell to remain notified about future updates. Until next time, thanks for watching and stay safe out there.